realized in that time where I was having trouble getting work that I'd been on retainers for like 5 years at that point, and my network had shriveled up. I'd gotten out of the habit of doing any marketing. I just was left entirely flat-footed. And what I realized about retainers is they really are a full-time job without benefits. And I realized I didn't want to do that anymore.
Caitlin, oh, I am so excited to have you as a guest on the show. For those who have listened to a few episodes, you'll know I'm starting to chat with guests who I've never met. And I am thoroughly enjoying it because I don't know them. I can't guide their story. I can't ask any probing questions. And yeah, it's just been so much fun. So, for those people listening who have never met you, who are you?
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So I'm Caitlin. I'm the founder of Liquid Form Design, and I do branding and web design for women coaches, consultants, and solopreneurs, thought leaders. And I do a full done for you service, including full brand website, but also brand strategy. And I also do all the copywriting.
Okay, yes, now I know exactly why you're in my world. Your posts are absolute fire. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
yes, I need this person just in my realm. So,
thank
yes.
you. Thanks so
All right.
much.
So, Caitlin, best part of the episode is we travel back in time, young you. What was your first ever job?
My first ever job after summer waiting tables, my first design job out of college was I got my first job actually with a photography portfolio. I had never even heard of graphic design when I was finishing up college. Someone just said the term to me, and I took a couple summer classes in the technology, learning Photoshop and Illustrator. And then someone took a chance on me that fall after college in 1999. So coming up on 27 years ago, someone took a chance on me and hired me to be basically a junior designer in a agency that we did all print work. It was a print management house. And so it's kind of wild thinking back. I remember my dad likes to tease me that I graduated college saying I didn't want to work on a computer. Um,
And
Computers have
that's
been around
all
for a
you
while,
do.
but it's so silly thinking back on that.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I mean they are still those jobs, right?
I
Where
guess there are, yes.
you know,
Yes.
lifestyle bloggers and things like that.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah. But it's funny because within a couple years, I was designing websites.
Yeah. Oh gosh. All right. So let's go back to that. So okay, you did say you just dropped it in there that you were waiting tables. How old were you when you started? I'm always so curious when people like just start working and earning money.
I must have been 22, 23,
Okay.
right out of
Okay.
college.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And I only had a couple entry level jobs actually before I went out on my own. But
Mm.
I did not intentionally start a business. My second job after that job, I had a really um, pretty crazy boss. She had a newborn baby that she was bringing to the office and keeping under her desk. And the baby was always crying and she was always angry. So there was a lot of crying and yelling in the office. And it was just a horrible environment. So I left that job just wanting to rest and ended up just starting to get work and started out subcontracting for other designers who had their own agencies. And so I really fell into my own business. I didn't start out with a lot of intention.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the first job because you said print. So were you designing billboards or what were
Yeah,
you?
no. Back then I started out it's pretty much all branding work in the beginning. And, back in the early 2000s, everyone needed business cards and letterhead. So I was designing logos, business cards, letterhead, print brochures, invitations, those sorts of, print marketing materials is where I started out. And my mom at the time, she had been an attorney for the EPA, but she had recently quit her job and become a personal stylist. And so she was part of an organization of personal stylists, and I did her brand. And then that led to a lot of jobs within her world. So I did a lot of brands for other personal stylists in the beginning.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
nice.
it's
Yes.
fun.
So the stuff we go into Vista Print for now
Yes.
was all, yeah. But I mean, I must say I still get my stuff designed for that. So there's still definitely a market, just uploading your logo, it doesn't get the best results. So
Yeah, but
yeah,
very
it's
few people
still
do
a
business
thing.
cards. Yeah, I find that very few of my clients do business cards now. Most people
Okay.
just have a digital business card. So
All
I
right.
miss the days of print is so nice to hold and it's such a
Yes, you say
it's
that as I clicked order on my business cards
oh
last
interesting.
night,
Oh, I love it.
literally last night. So
Fantastic. Well, I love that you're still doing it.
yes, yes. So the physical cards are coming. I do like, and I don't know, old school. Maybe
Yeah.
it's this generation, right? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's
Let's not
great.
go there. But yeah, I do love a business card. So absolutely. All right. So you doing that, and then so your mom supported you. I mean, not supported you, but gave you business, and then referred you to a whole bunch of people. But that you were working in house, right? You said
No,
first
I was
job
on
out of
my I
college.
was well, I was working in house for two jobs out of college and then I went
Okay.
independent pretty
All right,
young.
got it, got it, got it. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, piecing all the puzzle
Yeah.
together. How was your first job? Because you said your second job is where you left and took that breather.
My my first job was really wonderful. I had a great mentor. The creative director at that agency was just she really took me under her wing and taught me almost everything I know about typography and layout
Mm,
um, and I think a lot about young people now who have their first jobs remote. And it was so wonderful to be able to sit next to this woman and have her, go through my work with a red pen and show me exactly how to make it better. And I think I worry about young people who don't have that. The mentorship in person, I think, is really valuable, and to be able to, go out to lunch with them and spend more time with them during the day, and just what happens especially in a studio when it's an open floor plan and everyone's talking to each other and getting feedback. There's something really valuable about that. And even in my second job that was so horrible, I had a lot of really wonderful coworkers, one of whom is actually my neighbor now, who I'm still
mm,
friends with for 25 years ago.
wow.
And just being able to collaborate in person is really wonderful. So I'm
Yes.
really grateful for those early years.
Yes, yes. I call it learning by osmosis
Yes.
because just being in the environment, it's literally you soaking it up. And
Yes.
I truly feel that. I
Yes.
started office, I was one administrator and the other administrator worked kind of, if this was my office, like that side. So I would be getting up and walking across and getting up and
Yeah.
walking across. I don't know how many times I walk
Yeah.
that up and down per
Yeah.
day,
No, it's
just to
great.
learn from her. And yeah, I don't know how else I would have done that. Sending a million Teams messages is not the
Yes.
same.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's
Yeah.
helpful to see what other people are working on and give
Mhm.
feedback on other people's work. And it's such there's a lot of magic that happens when you're working side by side with people, I think.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, and we'll get back into that, but first learn more about your story. Okay, so
Yeah.
this mentor co-work, these are two different people from what I'm understanding, right? That
Yes, I had a
mentor and then your colleague is your neighbor and your friend. Okay, yes.
yeah, so
So
I
tell me
had a
about
wonderful
this
mentor.
colleague. That's
Yes,
amazing.
but yeah, I had a
Your
wonderful
friends
mentor
now.
first. Yeah, it's so funny, just a coincidence that now she lives down the street.
Yeah,
But yeah, my second boss was the worst boss I've ever had in my life, and soured me on bosses forever. But I'm
including all
lucky.
your clients.
Right. No, but I'm lucky to have my first one be so wonderful, and I'm still in touch with her as well.
Hmm. Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, and tell me, the difference if a young person is listening to this and they're thinking, mentorship, it's a little bit overrated and I can figure it out. Now I can use Claude, right? Doesn't Claude
Right.
know everything? What would you say to that person? Like, why is it so important to even reach out and be proactive to get a mentor these days?
I mean, just to get the lived experience of someone. I just don't think Claude can replicate the human lived experience of in terms of work. I mean, that woman, she was maybe 10 years into her career and she'd experienced so many different things in different scenarios that I don't know if Claude could even imagine. And
Mm,
and this person, my mentor really got to know me and was able to just teach me really specific things that she thought that I would be helpful for me personally based on my skill set and what she was seeing from me.
mm,
And also, I remember I made a mistake, and she took the bullet for me because she was in charge. But also, it was a great learning opportunity for me to see what a leader does in a team where she took responsibility, even though I was the one who made the mistake. And just all those learnings, you just can't. It's like interpersonal stuff. It's not just design, but it's how you interact with people. It's how you show up as a leader. It's all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. Yeah, thanks for saying that. 'Cause I think more and more people are isolated.
Yeah,
I do say I am employed because people are forgetting how to communicate and how to connect. And, that is the majority of my work, something I definitely would have just taken for granted
yeah,
before. I mean, yes, communication, there's ways and means. I
yeah,
lost my temper in an open plan office and basically
yeah,
shouted at someone is still my most mortifying moment, but it's a
yeah,
learning moment, right? And just the
yeah.
fact that I was in the office, I had that mortifying moment, which
Yes.
is sometimes necessary, So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't have any of those workplace interactions anymore, but I do still seek out mentorship and coaches and in community. And I am a member of several communities because I think you learn so much from other people going through, who are also entrepreneurs and who are going through something similar, even a totally different industry. I learn a lot from the people around me. And I think it's really
Yeah.
important to surround yourself with different kinds of people so that you continue learning and
Mhm.
have people push you. And so now that I don't have coworkers, I don't have bosses, I still try to have people around me that are going to challenge me and push me.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I'm starting that this year. It's one of my big goals, and
Oh, great.
I sat one afternoon and just scheduled things in my calendar. So hopefully I go to them. That's
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 right.
that is the trick. Okay, so and then you said you kind of fell into running your own business. So that was never something you anticipated or planned or anything like that. I want to dig into lessons learned here, Caitlin, because I'll tell you why. There are so many people in my industry losing their work, and then they go off and do consulting, and then they start this business, and some of them thrive, right? And but some of them are struggling with with that beginning stage. So, what got you through? What were some of those very, very early lessons? Like, let's call it the first year or two of your business.
Oh gosh, I mean, I've had so many different phases of my business or chapters, and I feel really grateful that the early years I was young, I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have a kid, I didn't have many responsibilities, so I was able, and it wasn't that expensive to live back then. So I had pretty infrequent work for many years, and it was fine. And I'm really lucky that that was the case for me, that I was able to, and even wouldn't even call them failures. I just wasn't trying that hard, and it just I was waiting for work to come to me, and it did. Sometimes it didn't, other times, but it all worked out. It was fine because I just didn't have a lot of responsibilities. So I see young people now go out with a lot of intention, and, they do all the right things right from the get. And that was not my story at all. I spent a lot of time watching TV during the day and, messing around, and it's such a luxury. And, and then I got married. And so we had two incomes in the house. So again, it took a lot of the pressure off. And, I didn't really get serious about my business until I realized I needed to get divorced. Um, let's see, that would have been 2018. So almost, I guess, 8 years ago, I realized I needed to get divorced. And at that point, well, one of the chapters is that I took about 6 years off from work when my son was little, because I had a very unsupportive husband who worked many hours, which is a big reason why we're now divorced. And so I had taken a few years off, and when my son was about 11 or 10 or 11, I realized I needed to leave and needed to figure out if I could support myself and if that was going to be a possibility. And I really hustled. I took a goal setting workshop and set a really big, ambitious goal to see if I could do it. And about 6 months into that first year, I made enough money that I felt confident that I could get divorced and support myself. And yeah, that was a really big turning point in my life and my career.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think you made it through that? That's
Um, I mean, I really worked hard. I really put myself out there. I did all the things I didn't do when I was younger. I did I reached out to everyone I knew in my network. I got really serious about my website. As a web designer, I actually had a really crummy website. I didn't, and
Makes
not,
sense. That
yeah,
makes
I
sense.
had not invested time or energy in it. And I just had some sort of mediocre portfolio photos. I had zero copy, not really a considered about page or there was no marketing copy at all on that website. It just was a slideshow. And I went out there and asked for work, and I made it work. And those first couple years after my divorce and through COVID, though, I relied on retainers. I got a couple of pretty big long-term retainers that were fantastic and got me through those hard years when I needed that steady income to make me feel secure. And so I'm really grateful for that. But at the end of middle of 2023, one of my big retainers ended. They were bought by someone. And so anyway, I lost that retainer. And at that point, I was pretty established in my career. I was charging a lot of money, and I had a really hard time finding another retainer. Everybody wanted someone younger who could do TikTok and video, and wasn't interested in learning how to do that. It was not, I have a pretty broad skill set, but I didn't think I needed to. I think that those should be separate skills, so I wasn't interested. So it was almost 8 months where I didn't have income and I couldn't find another retainer. And it was pretty scary, but I ended up joining a coaching program that completely taught me how to really change my business model, and not focus on retainers. And I realized in that time where I was having trouble getting work that I'd been on retainers for like 5 years at that point, and my network had shriveled up. I'd gotten out of the habit of doing any marketing. I just was left entirely flat-footed. And what I realized about retainers is they really are a full-time job without benefits. And I realized I didn't want to do that anymore. So, and I also I think that there is a way you can do retainers where you can have a lot of them, or do a mix of retainer and one-on-one projects. And I think that that's fine. But I made the mistake of having retainers be 80-90% of my business.
Yeah.
And that's not a business. That's
Okay.
just working for someone else.
Yes,
Um,
yes. All right. So tell me more about this coaching program. Can you name
yeah,
names? Is it still running?
sure. Yeah, the woman who runs this named Pia Silva. I think she's still calling the same thing. The program is called No BS Agency Mastery, and she just wrote a new book that's fantastic called Scale Solo. And her whole thing is about how to scale your business as a one or two person business without hiring, and without a big team. And I saw an Instagram ad, and I clicked on it and was intrigued and started listening to her podcast. And I just felt like she'd been sitting with me in my office for 20 years, watching all the things I'd done wrong. And I was told what she pointed out is how designers, how much we are subject to scope creep, and we lose control of our projects, and we always hate our clients by the end of the project because we're not managing the project well, and we're letting we're like waiting for content from everyone. And also the dangers of retainers, and also the dangers of being too much of a generalist and not niching. So I ended up joining her program and niched to serve just women solopreneurs, which has been most of my business anyway, but I veered out of that sometimes and had never liked working for other people besides women. So I niched, and then she taught me how to do this really great intensive process. So now I do, and also get rid of free proposals. So I completely changed my whole business model. So now I don't do free proposals. I do something called a branding roadmap, and it costs $975. So it's always paid. And it's how I start every project. And I start with a 90-minute interview with my clients where I go deep on where they've been, where they are now, where they want to go, their target audience, the transformation they create for their clients. I write a really comprehensive creative brief outlining a strategy to get them where they want to go. And then, because all the strategy and thinking is done up front, I can do an entire brand and website, including writing all the copy, in just 2 weeks on my end and 3 days with the client. And I just wrapped up one today, actually, and I present the work on the first day, and the whole thing is designed and done. Present the work, get feedback, and then over 3 days we fine tune and do any other pieces that we need for launch, and then launch at the end of the third day. And it's completely changed everything in my business. I love this new process. It's been great.
That's awesome. Okay, so you took a chance on a coach. Now, I've been in many coaching programs. I surround myself by people who have been there further than I am in the journey, all of that stuff. And truly it comes down to actually doing the work. right? You could have gone and sat in that room and been, this is amazing, and then gone back and done nothing. So, what drives you to do the work, to actually sit down? Is it just because this is your thing, or like, is there some drive internally? What is it that makes you probably, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but probably 6% of people who actually do the stuff from these coaching programs.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case, I'd been doing things a different way for way too long, and I'd seen it just wasn't working for me. So I was really ready for a change. And I think the timing of seeing her Instagram ad was the right time, because if I had seen it earlier when I was still happy in my retainer, it wouldn't have meant anything to me. But having, lost a retainer, had trouble getting a new one, had trouble getting work for 8 months. I was really ready to try something new. What I'd been doing wasn't working anymore. And not so much. I think the market's changed. The market's changed. I've changed. When you're young and scrappy, and you're willing to take whatever work. It's easier to get work. But as I'm getting older, I cost more. I'm more discerning about who I work with. I need to start calling in the clients that I want instead of waiting for them to come to me. And Pia Silva showed me how to do that. So I was ready. I think I was ready, but also I'm single income. I live in expensive. I'm in the Bay Area. I have a mortgage. I have a kid. I don't have a choice. My business is a success or I'm homeless. So I work hard. This is important to me. But the other thing that Pia teaches that's been really important to me, and I've always believed this, is that she talks a lot about freedom in your business and building a life or business supports your life instead of the other way around. And so she also, because of the way that she helped me schedule this intensive process, I also have a lot of freedom in my life, and I don't work full time, and I'm able to support myself still without even working full time. And so I think she made a lot of promises in the program, and I like, well, I'm going to give it my all and see if I can do what she promises. And I was able to do it. But it was pretty intense though. I started the program. I got 3 new one-on-one clients just as I started the program. So I was learning her process and practicing it on these new clients right out of the gate. So I was, flying the plane as I was building it. And I was waking up at 5 a.m. to watch a training video before a meeting with my client to do the thing that I just learned how to do. And I was straightforward with my clients, and I said, I'm trying this new thing, and please have patience with me. And they were wonderful. But yeah, it was a little intense, but so worth it.
That is excellent. And I'm in learning and development, so that is the truest thing ever. If you are learning something and then doing it straight away, that is actually where you grow and
Yes.
learn the new skills. So yeah, love that so much. Now I am curious, because you support solopreneur women founded companies. Maybe there's 1 or 2 people in the team. Are you just their designer, or are you also a bit of a mindset coach and a cheerleader and a therapist? I can only imagine that the job is way more than putting together a pretty website.
You're so right.
I'm assuming.
You're so right. And branding, especially for a solopreneur, is really personal. And a lot of my clients, one thing that's so fun about my work now is that a lot of my clients are just like me. They're in midlife. A lot of them have gone through a divorce. A lot of them are recent empty nesters or about to be empty nesters, or they have younger children and they're looking for more freedom in their lives. So they've left corporate so they can spend more time with their children. But I really understand all these women. I've been in their shoes, or I am in their shoes currently, or I'm about to be in their shoes. So it's one of the things that is so fun about my work, and because I figured out how to have so much freedom in my life, it's one of the things that I in my brand strategy work, I'm also helping them figure out how can we make your business work for you, and so that is part of my work too, for sure.
Yeah. Tell me about obviously don't name names, but just tell me about a memorable client. It could be a success story or not, whatever you choose, but I'd love to just dig into a real life example of what your work looks like.
Well, actually, the project that I just finished up today has been so fun because it's a woman who's in the fall is going to be launching a breathwork program for midlife women, for women who are going through perimenopause, just gone through menopause, and are having, going through all the things that happen in midlife, being the sandwich generation with, aging parents and young children, feeling like you're taking care of everyone else and not yourself. And one of the reasons, well, the big reason why I took over copywriting for all my projects is I just think it's really important that websites connect with the target audience and really, have empathy and speak to, what people are looking for, and it makes create an emotional connection. And this project was especially fun because I am about to turn 49. I have a 18-year-old. I'm a little worried about my parents. I'm going through, I spent a lot of years taking care of everyone but myself. And so it was really fun to work with her on the copy and talk to my friends about it too, and say, what are the big things in your life right now, and what are you feeling, and it's been really fun to just embody that woman for the last couple of weeks and writing all the copy. And this, my client is, she's also in her 40s, and it's been a super fun project. It feels very personal, and I think it's a wonderful program that she's launching. So I'm also just so excited for her, and I'm really excited to help her have all the success with it.
Yes, that's wonderful. So you are the target market. So you
I
can talk
am.
about yourself and all of your
Yes.
friends around
Yes.
you. So it's more personal, and those are the fun, exciting projects for sure. I totally
Yes.
get that.
But
Yeah.
it's a big reason why I love working with women and say no to men. I really do say no to men now because it feels so good to help women elevate their businesses and succeed, and to give them the tools to have their own financial independence and have their own freedom. And I feel like, in the news right now, we keep learning more and more about what men do with power and influence and money, and women need more. Women do good things with their money and influence, and I want to help more women have more money so they can have more impact.
Yeah, yeah. And yes, I get that. I have a membership, and I've got a list of, when I get X amount of members, this is what I'm going to do. And when I
Mm-hmm.
get that amount of members, this is what I'm going to do. Some things are selfish, like I'm going to go visit my brother in Canada. I'm going to go visit my friend in the UK. So some of the things are selfish, but like some of the things is donate to this charity,
Yeah.
save the whales. I literally
Yeah.
have a line item. I'm like, I am going to save the whales. So I get that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, there's real stats around it that women
Yeah.
are more philanthropic, and they're better about teaching their children about
Mhm.
giving back. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's real stats around it.
Yes. So I've picked up a little bit of a theme with you. So it feels like you look after everyone around you and not yourself, prioritize yourself. Maybe that's shifted now in your life, but it seems like that's been, and why I'm so aware of this is I've just literally written a book on people who refuse to disappear. So maybe it's just front of mind. But you said you sort of waited to get divorced. By the sounds of it, you waited to feel ready. Maybe you're waiting for your child to be a certain age, and then your business. You were just helping these retainer clients, not prioritizing yourself. And now eventually you've got this business that works for you. So my question is, what do you think this waiting or deprioritizing yourself has cost you, or has led to you being who you are now? And you can answer, that might be two separate questions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big reason why I got divorced. And I think I don't even know if I knew I was waiting to get divorced, but I was so in it and I was keeping it so focused on keeping everything together that I couldn't even, I didn't even know how bad it was really. And it was so interesting when my son got a little bit older and he got easier and life got easier. And I finally put my head up above water and looked around and just thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? How did this become my life? And so it was actually when my life got easier and I had more spaciousness. And my marriage was actually better. We weren't as in it. There wasn't as much conflict even in our marriage anymore. But even that, just having that be easier, when having everything feel a little bit easier, made me realize I wanted more. And so, yeah, my life has changed dramatically since my divorce. And and also my son is older now. He's 18 now. But just one of the divorce is really hard, but one of the perks is you're only a parent part time. And that was sad at first. And then I also really leaned into the freedom of that and having more time for myself. And so, yeah, now I travel a lot with my boyfriend without my son. I also travel with him, which is really fun, but I do have a lot of time on my own. Um, he's he's so fun to spend time with, and I when he was little, I spent a lot of time trying to get away from him, and now only want to hang out with him. But I also get to have a lot of really fun adult time and go dancing and travel and go this week my boyfriend and I went to live music on Wednesday night. I went to dance performance with a friend last night. I'm going to the SF MoMA tonight. I do have a lot of fun and freedom in my life now, but I think and now I can really appreciate that because of all those really hard years when I was so in it. And for sure, my son definitely comes first always, but he doesn't need me as much anymore. So it's that looks really different now.
Yes, yes. Okay, so someone's stuck in the tunnel, right? You at the other end of the tunnel. What would you say to that person?
Keep going, keep going, keep going, and just really, I think people, especially women, need to spend time checking in with what they need and want. I think it's easy to forget to ask ourselves what we need and want, and I think I'd forgotten to do that for years and years, and that's one of the gifts of having more spaciousness in my life now is I'm able to really look at that and say, is this how I want my life to look? And I think women should be constantly checking in. Is this how I want my life to look? Am I just doing things because I'm supposed to for someone else, or is this really what serves me? And I learned from a coach right after my divorce to think in terms of adjective goals instead of just revenue goals, and to think of adjectives of how you want your life to look. And when she first asked me to do that in 2020, I couldn't even, she had it in a questionnaire and I couldn't do it on my own. It was too hard for me to even think about. So we had to do it together, talking it out. And now I have three that I'm still holding on to from 2020, which are free, independent, secure. And for a couple of years, when I was really hustling on my business, I realized I'd lost a feeling of spaciousness and I was hustling too much. And so this year and last year, I also am trying to keep in mind that I want things to be spacious. And so then every time I'm making a big decision, I think, okay, is this going to move me closer or farther away from my goals of feeling free, independent, secure, and spacious? And it's a really great North Star for making big decisions in my business and in my life.
Okay. Um, I need to write this down.
It's good. Yeah.
I have never thought of that. And that is, I get so many gems from these podcast conversations, and that is absolutely one of them. I haven't thought about it. I am definitely in the hustle phase of my business. And I think that's also important to know that there's a time for that. But
Yeah.
also when it's not healthy, or when things need to shift, like when you're running down the wrong path rather than walking steadily on the right path, because
Yeah.
those two things will lead you to completely different outcomes, completely different destinations. So and talking about that, and you went to that peers coaching, was that the moment, were you hustling before and then the coaching happened, but were there still moments of hustle where you're like, okay, I'm going to miss weekends, I'm going to work late nights because it's necessary? Do you still have those times?
Yeah, I think I almost never work evenings, almost never work weekends. If I work a weekend, it's usually because I feel excited about an email newsletter I just started writing, or it's usually just my own work. I almost never do client work on the weekends, or if I do a midweek trip with my boyfriend, that's why I'll work on the weekend. But I try not to do that regularly. The hustling, there's been many different seasons of hustling and not hustling. And when I first realized I needed to get divorced, I hustled big time. And then during the retainer time, that was very chill, really nice. And I had a long time where I really felt free, independent, and secure all at the same time for a long period, and that felt amazing. And then when I started PA's program, it was back to hustling again. And then I was able to coast for a little while, and it's sort of a constant. I don't think when you're self-employed, I don't think you can take your foot off the gas entirely ever. But I've been working really hard, especially this year, and I think I'm figuring it out to set up systems to make it not feel so onerous, um, and systems and just practices of things like I write all my LinkedIn posts on Monday so that they're all out of the way. And if I write a bunch at once, no one gets too precious, and I'm able to do it more quickly than if I'm trying to write them every day. Just little things like that that make my life a little bit easier. Or trying to even write, 2 email newsletters in one sitting is always going to be more efficient than writing one. And so just figuring out how to be more efficient. And but stuff like outreach, networking, that needs to happen constantly. But I try to, now that I'm in more of a rhythm now where it doesn't always feel like hustle. Now it can sometimes just be fun and just something else that's on my to-do list, but not too overwhelming.
Yes, that's awesome. What do you think is working in your business to be successful? There are so many things. In fact, I had a strategy call this morning for 90 minutes on the roadmap, which was so good. But
Yeah.
yeah, what's working in it? It's probably not one thing.
I think one of the things that's working the best that I love is I have a really dialed in process. I love my sprint process. It feels really good when I'm in it. I my clients love it. They love the focus. One of the things that's fantastic about it is that I'm able to, I schedule out my projects with a wait list for a few months out, but I'm also able to schedule vacation, and I never have a project hang over my head because I know when I have a start and end date to every project. So that's been incredible. I love that so much. Um, and I think I have a generally good marketing system where all my business is coming from a lot of different places. I get it from referrals, I get it from LinkedIn posts, my email newsletter, virtual and in-person networking. I try to be really intentional about my networking and not stretch myself too thin, and just go to events mostly with where it's going to be only women founders, and just my ideal clients are going to be there. I don't waste my time with any sort of tech conference or things where it's not where people aren't going to be there. And yeah, it feels good that I have clients coming in from all different directions, and um and because I'm pretty good about keeping up with in terms of outreach and connection calls with people. And
Mm.
so yeah, it's feeling a few years into it's been what just 2.5 years I think since I did PA's program and niched really intentionally and started the intensive process, and it's feeling like it's running pretty smoothly now.
Oh, that's awesome. So your flywheel is flying.
My flywheel is flying. Yes.
That's fantastic. So good to hear because it can be so hard running a business by yourself, but this success, like you say, it's just so like I feel happy just hearing your story. It's so great. I love it so much. So
Thank you.
yay.
Thank you so
So
much.
people who are wanting to go solo, now we're going to get into some of the questions before we wrap up. What do you think we're not talking about enough when it comes to building this? And I'm going to use the word spacious, use your word, spacious and
Mhm.
free life while still earning the money, because it sounds like that's the dream, right? That's what Instagram sells us and all of the things, and just follow my 5 steps and you're going to be a gazillionaire, all of that stuff. So I want to hear from you, who is someone who has walked the walk. You've gone through the tunnels and the ups and the downs, and now you're on the other side. What are we not saying enough, the truth about what this takes to get here?
I think something that comes up a lot in conversations with other entrepreneurs is this sense that that scaling has to mean hiring a team. I think it's really important to me to focus on profit and not revenue. And I think people get stuck on someone else's metric of success and some idea of a revenue number. They have to have $1 million business. They have to have a $5 million business. And often those businesses are not profitable. And I don't see the point. I think it's more headache. Um, I think managing people is, really challenging, and I really reject the idea that scaling and growth has to mean hiring a team and just getting more like bigger and bigger revenue numbers, because I think those revenue numbers can be irrelevant. So I think, anyone starting out, or even, if you're any point in business, I think it's like sort of somewhat I was saying earlier. I think it's really important to check in with yourself and say, what does it really mean to be successful for me? And is this an arbitrary revenue number that I think I'm supposed to hit to be a success? Or is there a way for me to make less revenue but put more money in my pocket and have more time and freedom and flexibility in my life? And that's what's more important to me. And I think, yeah, I someone on LinkedIn had a sort of boasting about their the revenue for the year, but then she said she has a team of 8, and I was like, how are like, no one in that office is bringing home more than $100,000, and probably significantly less, and the founder might not be bringing any. So I just don't see the point. I think I think you should figure out, and also I think it's really important to figure out what does it cost really to run your life the way you want to, and then build your goals around that and not just some arbitrary number.
So good. I heard it's what is your enough number?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then an enough number. And one of the things that Pia taught that I love was a good, better, best number. So you
Mhm.
figure out what's the bare minimum, and then what's your set little bit of a reach goal, and then what would be like the really exciting goal. So if what would it cost to take more vacations, to uh, you know I don't know, do whatever is valuable to you, and just figure out like what are those 3 different numbers. I love that too.
Yes, I love that. Okay. So I've got a lot of to-dos from this podcast. Going to get my adjectives and then I'm going to have my 3 numbers. Yes,
Yeah.
I love it. All right, let's go again back in time. What would you thank your younger self for doing back then that really set you up for who you are today and where you are today?
In terms of my business, or in terms of being able to support myself now, I'm so glad I learned a skill that's marketable and that I could keep coming back to over the years. I was thinking, when I needed to get divorced, a lot of my friends they stopped their careers when they had children, and they didn't really establish a career, or they were in corporate before, and then after taking many years off, it just would have been so hard to go back to a job. And when I was trying to figure out how to make it work financially and get divorced, I was looking into whether I could get a job because I wasn't confident I could rebuild my business. But if I had tried to get a job again after being out of the workforce for 6 years, I would have come in probably pretty low level. I hadn't had a job in an office in so long. I don't know if I would have been hireable anyway. And I just was so grateful that I had a business I could go back to, even though it was scary trying to rebuild it. I wasn't sure that I could. But I do think, for better or worse, when you're running your own thing, you do have more control over your destiny, and you do have there are levers you can pull.
Mhm.
And it like, sometimes it takes a lot of hustle, sometimes it takes a lot of work, but there is you have control over the outcome to some degree. Where if you're at the whims of just the job market, it's much more challenging. So I'm really I would thank myself for learning a skill that was translatable into a business, and then starting that business so I could come back to it later when I really needed it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, learning a deep skill, it's going to be a differentiator, absolutely,
Yeah.
as
And
we
I don't
as
know,
we keep going
Judge
in this
Judy.
AI world.
Yes. But yeah, I heard Judge Judy on Amy Poehler's podcast a few months ago, and she said something about how a woman has to have a way of earning a living, because if she doesn't have a way of making money, she can be controlled. And that really made an impact on me. And I think that women really need to make sure they all can earn a living on their own if they need to.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's really very true. Yeah, very, very
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and for those in a career in a corporate job, I know what I would say to them, but what would you say to them? That they don't want to run a business, they just want to be employed. How can they stay like relevant and still in control?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it feels like there's so little loyalty right now in corporate companies, and I don't even know what to say. I think it's scary. I think it's scary out there. And I know, like, for a lot of my friends, there've been a lot of layoffs, because we're at the, top of our careers, and we're expensive, and seen as not as valuable as we are. So yeah, I think we just do our best to keep staying. I mean, just keep trying to stay relevant, and um, just show off your value with your experience, and don't let anyone tell you you're too old too, because all that experience is so valuable.
Yes, yes, and that's exactly what I say. I say it like show off, just
Yeah, yeah,
be self-indulgent, show off, make sure they know the value that you're bringing. So
yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more.
And just really stand tall in your expertise and authority that
Mhm.
only you have from your own experience.
Yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely.
there was, I heard Jack Clark, one of the founders of Claude, was talking about how that's one of the things that the AI really can't replace, is the intuition and taste that comes from experience.
Hmm.
And so we need to keep leaning into that, like what we, when you were asking that early question about comparing, Claude to a mentor, I think there's that intuition about knowing what to do next,
Hmm.
and knowing when it's good, knowing when it's right. That only comes from experience. So we need to highlight that whenever possible.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, this world is, it's wild.
It
It is a
is.
wild world. So I love these conversations because they're just so real and there's nothing AI generated. And yeah, so it's just wonderful. It's been really wonderful chatting to you. Now, for those listening, they think I need Caitlin in my life. Who should contact you? Why should they contact you?
I love working with any woman service provider, coaches, consultants, authors, thought leaders, speakers, and anyone who's. I work with both women who are established in their businesses, who've maybe had their business for 5 to 10 years and are ready for a rebrand. Maybe they've, grown in their business, they're changing their offerings, they have a different client base, or they're just looking to, have a more elevated, updated look. I love working with women who are looking for a rebrand. I also really love working with women who are leaving corporate for the first time and putting out their shingle for the first time, and want to start on the right foundation, having a really strong brand and website. And I do think in this rough economy, I don't, I haven't always thought a website was the most important thing, but I think that now budgets are tighter. People are looking at everyone with more, being more discerning. They're deciding whether they're going to hire between these people or even hire at all. I think you really need to stand out, and you really need to have a great looking brand with really strong messaging that clearly shows your expertise, your value, all the stuff we were just talking about. And I think it's more important than ever right now in this bad economy. I think
Mhm.
we can't phone it in.
No, no, we cannot. So when you say brand, what all does that mean? Because website,
um,
I understand that. What's
yeah, at bare minimum, brand would be, visually it's logo, color palette, general look and feel, but it's also messaging, voice, positioning. All of that is part of the brand. And then all of my packages include websites and copywriting, so it's all that together. And I design, part of why I do everything together is because nothing, your logo is never going to live by itself. Your website can't exist without your brand. It all has to be designed together. I write the copy first. I design everything together because it all lives together. I'm working on your LinkedIn banners while I'm looking at your website, because I want to make sure it all fits together and is cohesive, and that you're telling the same story across every place that someone runs into you. So I think all of that is your brand, but I think it's really your messaging. I think is just so important, even more
Mhm,
than your than
mhm.
your visuals.
Yes, yes. Having gone through this, your key differentiator is that you include the copy because you
Yeah,
get to know your person, you get to know
yes,
their business so well, and then you get to fine tune their messaging. Because sometimes I can talk for myself. I'm so in it that I don't even know, am I saying the right things? Um, there's just so many things I could say. I have a lot of ideas. So getting that messaging sharp is one of the hardest things I've done, honestly. It's so hard because like who do you speak to? Speak to at least three different people and the messaging is so different. So dialing that in is I cannot emphasize that enough. That's huge. That is
And
huge.
it is really hard to do for yourself. Whenever I've changed my messaging, I've had to work with a coach to help me because
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can't do it by
Yeah.
myself. And there's
Yes.
a saying that I love: you can't read the label from inside the bottle. It's just when you're too close to it, you can't see it.
Yes, I love
You're on the
that.
wrong side of it. Yeah.
Great. Any last final words before we say goodbye?
This has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing so openly. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.